Hey y'all, it's your girl Janelle Renee. I know it's been a while, but I'm here today, right? Life has been lifing, okay? It has been lifing, but I have a few things I want to come on and share with you guys. Y'all know this is redefining a woman's worth, and this is where we are coming together as a community to be restored, right? God wants us to be restored unto Him in every way imaginable. So that's emotionally, mentally, physically, relationally. Every way we can think of, right? God wants to restore us back to our original intent that He had for us from the beginning, from the foundation of the world. And so that is why I'm here. And the ways that I help bring restoration to women is I have a coaching practice, Redefining My Worth, as well as I do these videos, however the Holy Spirit leads me to get on, whether it's a word of encouragement, a word of exhortation. Sometimes it's a prophetic word. Sometimes it's a story time. You know, I do want to start doing Bible studies. However, whatever the Lord leads me to do. I also have a podcast called Purity After Promiscuity, because God desires to restore the purity of His church, right? And the church is not just His daughters, it is His sons as well. But my mandate is to His daughters. So those are some of the ways. Oh, and I also have a ministry that is really for women, right? So I do have a ministry called Redefining Her. And so yeah, those are some of the things that I do, but I just don't want to come on here just talking about all that, but I just kind of want to give you guys more of an idea of what I do and how I do what it is that God called me to do, which is to bring restoration. That is what He called me to do. And I also got a special announcement at the end of this video, because I don't think I announced it on YouTube yet. Maybe I did, I'm not sure. So stay tuned, listen to the end. Also, like, subscribe, share, like, subscribe, share, like, subscribe, share. Help your girl. I need to get my subscribers up. I need to get out what the word of the Lord is, whatever the Lord is saying, because He wants His daughters restored, period. And I know I'm not the only one, but that is what I am called to do. I'm not one of those, you know, talking only about kingdom spouses or marriage or blessings and houses and cars and all of these things, even though those are some of the things God is doing. But most of all, God is really concerned about your relationship with Him and your lifestyle, and how your lifestyle is really allowing you to connect with Him. And He wants every area of your life fruitful, right? He wants you to have fruitful relationships. He wants you to have a fruitful mindset. He wants you to have be fruitful emotionally, be emotionally stable, illiterate, and intelligent. He wants you to be healed and made whole. So there's so many more things other than material possessions that God is interested in. And this is why a lot of times God will strip us. He will strip us away from material things, because oftentimes in Western Christianity, we put a lot of our identity into material possessions. We think the more you have, the more blessed you are, but that's not how God works. That's not His mindset. He will look at a person who is in poverty, like a homeless person that we might look at and look down upon, or we might look at and be like, wow, you know, I feel so sorry for them in their situation. But they could be rich in Him. They could be rich in the Spirit. They can really have a real relationship with Him. They can have peace. They can be content. They could be happy. And because we're looking at it as because they don't have things, that automatically means that they're sad or they're suffering. That's not the case. As much as we do need material things, but those are not the totality of who we are. And you're still who you are if you don't have any of those things. And so the way God sees us and views us is more from a spiritual perspective than anything else. And so that kind of goes into what it is that I'm going to talk about here in this video. But on this video, I really want to talk about the importance of being obedient, especially when God is requiring you to release something. Anywhere that God is asking us to do anything is requiring our total and radical obedience. So we should not delay. We should not put it off. We should not think, let me finish doing what I'm doing and then I'll get to it. Because God takes precedence. He should be our priority, and He should be the most important thing. So everything else should center around Him, not Him around everything. But sometimes in our humanness, that's not easy to do. Or we think we are prioritizing God, or we think our relationship with God is where it's supposed to be. And then we realize He'll find ways to show us, or put the mirror up to us, and He'll show us that it's not really what we think. And so sometimes I pray that, like, Lord, show me me, because I know sometimes I can get off, right? Because I do the most, you know. God know me, I'm His daughter. He know how He created me, and I can, you know, I can do the most. So I do be needing him to show me, you know, where I'm off or anywhere I missed it, because I want to repent. But going back to this topic of not being afraid to be obedient, especially if God is calling you to release something. You know, a lot of times God will call us to release something, and it will be the very thing we love, because God is always trying to challenge us to see what really has our heart, because whatever has our heart is our God. And so anytime God is asking you to release something, or he's putting you in a situation where you feel like you have had to release control of the plans you have for yourself, or you might have had a certain career and he might tell you, you know, you got to switch careers. He might tell you to leave your job. He might tell you to leave your community. He might tell you to leave certain friendships. He might tell you to leave your church. He might tell you to leave a certain mindset, like the way you think about something. He might just tell you to give up something. He might tell you, you know, to give up everything in your house. He might tell you to give up all the money in your bank account. He might tell you to do something, and to you, you're like, God, why? And I think a lot of times it's even more difficult when it's the thing that we feel like God gave us. And it just reminds me of Abraham. Like, I can't even begin to fathom, like, what it would be like for God to come to you and tell you, after all the years that you waited, after everything that you went through and endured, after your mistakes and pitfalls of creating Ishmael and everything, and I you know, I still showed you grace and favor. I continue to keep my covenant with you, because my covenant isn't eternal. I gave you this promised son that I told you would have of your wife, of your, you know, your own wife. And this is the promised seed. This is the promised son through whom I'm going to bless all of the earth. And now he's like, now get up and go to the mountain and sacrifice it. And a lot of times we hear that story, we know the story, it might be preached, we might heard, you know, Bible studies on it, whatever the case may be. And it's a really good story, but I really don't think we understand the magnitude of that story. Like, as a parent, like, I'm a parent, and I don't know what I would be looking at God like if he was to say, go take one of my children and go sacrifice them on a mountain. Like, and we can't even assume that God wouldn't ask us to do nothing like that, because the Bible tells us he's the same yesterday and today and forevermore. But whatever God is wanting to see, what do we love more, him or the thing? So for Abraham, it was a test of his faithfulness, like of his faith. Like, really, was God his God? Did he really trust God and love God for who he was? Or is this promise that God gave him, is that the thing that he worships and idolizes, right? And then that's where we fall into idolatry. And sometimes we're in idolatry and don't know it. And so, you know, he asked him to do it, and Abraham did it. And we don't have the details to see kind of what Abraham's thought process was, or, you know, kind of the events that took place, you know, in his personal time. Did he cry out? Did he see God? Did he ask for confirmation? You know, did he vacillate between obedience and disobedience? You know, did he think it was not God talking to him? Like, all of these different, you know, variables, we don't know. But all we do know is it says the next morning he got up and gathered his servants and his son, and he went to go obey what God told him to do. And I think about stuff like that, and I'm like, Lord, no, you're not asking me to give up one of my children, but you often come to the thing I love. And so for me, I find that God is always coming to the thing that we love, or the thing that we are very attached to or connected to. And it's always going to be something that is going to be a sacrifice, or is going to be difficult for you to give up, because that's how God is. Because God is looking to see, do you love this thing more than me? And anytime we cannot open our hand and say, here, God, you can have this thing. Listen, you gave it to me, or whether I got it for myself, it's just a thing. It's just a whatever. It's just a relationship. It's just a person. It's just a job. It's just a position. It's just money, whatever it is, Lord. I believe that you can restore, that you can supply, that you can, you know, replace, or whatever the case may be. Or if you don't do any of those things, I believe you're enough. And see, we might say those things and we might think those things, but in the reality of it, is it what we do? Is that what our actions say? And so I just want to admonish someone, like, if God has been speaking to you and telling you to walk away from something, someone, it could be that God is asking you to uproot your whole life and move across the country to somewhere you don't even know. It could be God is like, okay, it's time for you to leave this position. Don't worry, you know, and you're trying to figure out in your mind, well, I need to get another job first. I need to make sure I have income. I can't just not have no money. How my bills going to get paid? And so we got to go into this mode of trying to figure it out. And that's where we get stuck, right? Or we get detoured. Instead of just obeying and trusting God, like, once I do this step, you're going to provide the next step. Whether that's provision, whether that's, favor, whether it's whatever it is that you're going to provide it. Because I'm obeying what you told me to do. It's not always easy. And I'm speaking from experience because I just gave up something today that was very near to me. And I really didn't realize how hard it was for me to give it up. I would say to myself, when the idea first entered into my mind a few months ago, because of my circumstances, I thought about it and I was like, well, Lord, if I'm not going to be able to sustain this thing, if I'm not going to be able to maintain it, if I'm not going to have the provision to keep it, then maybe I could see if I could sell it back. Because I knew that if I sold my car back, that I could, get some, at least get some money back for it, because my car was, had a good amount of equity in it. And so, I played with that idea. I went to some dealerships. I had some conversations to see what it would look like. I got some estimates, some quotes. And then, like that next day, then God blessed me. Right now, all along, I was seeking him to bless me. I was seeking him to bless me all along, to provide for that, to provide for my car, but also to provide for my family. And so the next day I got a blessing where I got some money that I did not know that was out there. I had no idea that this money was owed to me. And it was a pretty large amount of money, and so I was just like, oh, wow, look at, the Lord, he has answered my prayer. And so I still was in a position where I could have decided to go ahead and surrender my car and, take the money that I already have in my pocket right now and maybe, secure some transportation, some, other way, and wait for the process of me selling my car back, because it was going to take a little time, for everything to clear up, and then, go from there. And I've toyed with that idea as well, but because the fear of losing my car, right? The fear of not having the comfort of being able to just get in my car, the fear of not knowing what was going to happen next, the unknown, like, when was I going to get a car again? What kind of car was it going to be like? Because to be honest, it ain't even like the car that I personally had was just a car. It is just a car, but it was my dream car. Like, I bought my dream car and I had it, and I bought it brand new off the lot. And on top of that, what the stamp, the time stamp on the car from when it was completed from being manufactured is my birthday, literally. And so everything really appeared to be like God. And so I kept struggling with the idea of, God, why would you ask me to give up something that you gave me? Like, and we need a car, and we're already in a position where we need somewhere to live, where we need to eat all these other things. I've already lost this. I've already lost that. I've already lost this. I always like, I don't want to lose nothing else. So it was just the fear of, losing again, right? It was the fear of, not knowing what God was going to do, or if he was going to do anything. So I let fear be bigger than my faith and my trust in God, and I held on to it. And so instead of taking the way of escape, I decided to pay the car note amount that I had due at that moment, and carry on with everything else. And I just assumed, since God had provided that day in such a supernatural way, in such a significant way, and it was a significant amount of money, I thought surely God is going to continue to provide every month for me to pay this car note, right? Wrong. I have been praying also to be debt free, right? Because I was already on my way to being debt free. I was on my way to being debt free in 2021. I paid off all of my debts. The only debt I had was student loans, and that's it. And I was going to pay that, right? I had bought a car cash. I had everything that I needed. I had paid cash for it. I was in a position to do so. God had answered my prayer then, because before 2021, my standing prayer with the Father was, Lord, I hate debt. I hate the feeling of debt. I hate, the pressure, the stress, the anxiety that comes with owing someone and getting the phone calls and, being solicited all the time, and people, being insensitive, trying to just, force you to have the money, and you avoiding your phone calls, or, all of the things, right? So I pray, that was my conviction, and I was praying to be debt free, and God blessed me to do that. But somewhere along the way, I lost sight of the goal because I started walking in the thing I had prayed for, right? I had prayed to be debt free. I had prayed to be financially well off and stable, and God answered those prayers. However, for some reason, the familiarity of debt, the familiarity of, having things that I have to pay a payment on, was able to come back into my mindset. And so I ended up getting another car note. And I had not had a car note at that time since probably like 2018. So you're talking about 2021. I hadn't had a car note since 2018 and didn't need one because, like I said, I had a car. I had a good car. My car was great. It ran great. It was good. It was nice. We loved it. Nothing was wrong with my car that I had. And I had bought that car cash and I got a really good deal on it. But it is something about that poverty mindset that if you don't deal with that, no matter where you go or how far you get, you will come back. It's almost like being on a spring and you're uncoiling, and eventually that thing gonna snap back. And so I found myself getting back into the habit of debt. And not only did I get a car note, but I ended up getting credit cards. Now, Lord forbid, I did not need a credit card. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. And I pray that you guys understand. I'm not saying anything that I'm saying to brag or boast, because that's not it. What I'm saying is I was in a position I did not need a credit card. Me getting a credit card was purely foolishness. It was foolishness, okay? I did not need to go get a brand new car again and and be having to pay a car note. That was foolishness. The Lord delivered me, right? It's like, the children of Israel. The reason why a whole entire generation had to die in the wilderness before that the Lord could commission Joshua to, now let's go. It's time for you to take this generation to the promised land, because they still had a mindset for Egypt and an appetite for Egypt. And so they grumbled and they complained. And what God knew was, even if he let them go into the promised land, eventually they were going to end up back in Egypt anyway, or they were going to bring Egypt into the promised land. Come on, somebody who God's speaking good right now. And so what I ended up doing was I went back to the thing God delivered me from. I went back to that, right? I went back to being, it's like when the scriptures talk about in Proverbs, like, don't be like a dog that returns to its own vomit, right? The very thing I pleaded with God, I prayed to God, I had fasted to God, I had did all the things for years to get out of debt, to get out of poverty, to get to a place where I could, have a good foot and, and can really be living and thriving and successful. And God did that for me. But it was because I still had an appetite for Egypt. Come on, somebody. My mindset was still polluted with Egypt, that I allowed myself to get right back into the very thing, right, that God delivered me from. So when it came time for me to pray and ask God to sustain this vehicle, God is like, looking back now, God did not answer the prayer. He's not going to sustain something that it was never in his will in the first place. It was not in God's will for me to go get that car. Number one, because I disobeyed. I made him a promise that I would get out of that instead of that. And I went back and got into a yoke of bondage. I put myself back in a yoke of bondage. And I broke my vow to him. But also, it started bringing me torment. I started being tormented. I started having nightmares of my car being repossessed, of me going out, looking out and my car not being there. I started having dreams, someone taking my car. I started, being paranoid. I'm looking out the window all the time. If I hear a noise every time I see a tow truck, my heart is racing. I have no peace. I'm just grieved. I'm, in sorrow, all of these things. And I'm constantly asking God to bless that. And it was just like, in the moment, it was like, Lord, you gave me this car. You blessed me with this car. Lord, you gave me the provision just a few months ago to be able to sustain it. Lord, where are you? I just know you're going to do this thing. And I'm praying, but in retrospect, God gave me a way of escape. God gave me a way of escape when he gave me that money a couple months ago. And I could have surrendered my car then. And I would have got enough money back from surrendering my car at that time to get another car cash. I would have got enough money back if I would have surrendered my car at that time to get another car cash. because God is gracious and he's sovereign. Even though I had disobeyed, even though I went and got myself back in the yoke of bondage, he in his grace and his mercy and his loving kindness still said, daughter, okay, I'm going to give you a way of escape. And I didn't take it for fear, right? For fear. And God was asking me to release this thing. And this was my dream car. And everywhere I went, people was just always complimenting my car. Like, oh, girl, you got a nice car. Oh, you must be rich. Oh, you got this. And again, I didn't have the car for that. It just happened to be my dream car. I had wanted since 2018. And I was able to purchase it, right? And so to me, I would be like looking at people like, why are you acting like it's a big deal? It's just a car. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a truck. It's not, you know, it wasn't like it was a G-Wagon or nothing like that. It wasn't a Range Rover. It was nice. It was a nice luxury truck. But I used to think, like, why do people act like this truck is, you know, because I didn't look at it like that. I just looked at it like it was a blessing. Like it was just God giving a good gift to his child. But looking back, it was like, no, that wasn't God. That was the enemy playing on my weakness. Like, and that's one thing we got to understand about deliverance. When deliverance takes place, you have to be intentional to maintain your deliverance. And see, deliverance is not always like a devil being cast out. That is deliverance. But there's other parts of deliverance that God will bring you out of certain circumstances. That's like when God gives you the strength to finally leave that relationship from that abusive man, that a toxic relationship. He gives you the strength. He gives you the way out. He gives you the way of escape. And it's on you to say, okay, I'm not going back. And it's on you to put the parameters in place that you don't go back, because it's going to be that much harder, 700-800 times harder sometimes to get back out. And so now I'm in a situation where I got debt. I got debt that I can't afford, that I can't pay. I got stress. I got anxiety. I got no peace. Okay. And then they start saying they gonna just come repossess it because I just was so behind. So now I'm dealing with them telling me that they gonna just come take it. And I know that if they just come take it, I don't get nothing. And I still have to have it on my credit. I still will need to pay it off. Or I could just trust God and I could just surrender it. And me surrendering it, it get paid off. So it looks good on my credit because it's paid off. And so that I don't have that debt any longer. I don't have to worry about how I'm gonna pay this car note, because it was a hefty car note. And then I don't have to worry about the stress of, is my car gonna be repossessed? And then immediately the light bulb went off. And God said, I cannot bless you as long as you was holding on to this, right? Because my heart is still to be debt free. Now I can talk about my announcement. I just finished my certification to be a financial coach through Dave Ramsey's financial coach master training program. And one of my, heart's desires is to be debt free and to help others be debt free. So what do I look like? And not to say you can't have debt. Financial coaches have debt or have gone through the process of clearing, up their debt and getting, having a financial situation and then getting themselves to a place where they're able to, be financially secure, right? So it's not to say you can't, but for me, God had already gave me the position to be in to help other people, right? And to help myself and to be out. But because of my inability to recognize that, wait a minute, there's something in me that still desires that thing. There's something in me that is still susceptible, that still has a lean or a bend to the thing God delivered me from. Lord, what must I do now? Like, I should have been seeking the Lord. Like, why am I even considering? Why can I even consider going back into debt? Why can I even consider getting a credit card? Why can I even consider, having a car note when you've already gave me everything I need? I had everything I needed. I did not need any of those things. But it was something about my appetite and my mindset that had not been renewed. And so I found myself back in that place. But today I was able to release it. And again, I'm not going to say that it was fully of my own will, because obviously I was in a situation where I had to make a choice. Or I could have said to myself, you know what, maybe God gonna come at the last hour, because he can, right? And he has at times, right? I could have said, let me just be patient. Let me just wait, and God will provide. Even if they hear, hooking the car up, or even if they take the car, he'll provide me the finances, to get the car back. Maybe he just want me to have faith. He's testing my faith. Sometimes that's the case, right? But I feel like a lot of times where we try to apply that doesn't fit the circumstance. Sometimes God is just really saying, let it go. Sometimes he's just saying, that's not the person for you. I have someone better. Sometimes he's just like, your season here up. Like, and so we have to know the difference. This is why we have to spend time in his presence and really seek him and know his character, know his nature, and to really hear his heart, because then that could save us a lot of heartache and pain. Because I'm thinking all along that if I surrender my car, I'm going to be crushed. I'm going to be heartbroken. Like, I'm going to be so disappointed. I don't know how I'm going to be able to recover my faith. I don't know how I'm going to be able to continue to trust and believe God, because I just was believing that he would do this for me, and I don't know why he wouldn't do this for me. I'm going to tell y'all something. On my way driving there to the dealership, I said, okay, Lord, I started to tear up. I'm not going to lie. Tears started coming to my eyes, and I said, I'm not going to cry. I said, because here's what I know. Either you're going to provide the money that I need to avoid this repossession, or it's your will for me to surrender it. Either way, whatever your will is, let it be done. And I meant that thing. And when I got to the dealership, and nothing had came through as far as money was concerned, because I had reached out to someone, I just went ahead and told them, I'm here to surrender this car. I know the people at the dealership really well. I've been working with them for years. I've bought many cars from them. And so, that I knew that they would help me. I knew they was trustworthy, and I knew they had my back. And so he was like, all right, let's go. And he's a Christian. And he ended up telling me one of his testimonies while I was there. And it just really spoke to my heart in that moment. And I was at so much peace, y'all. I mean, I was calm. I had peace. I didn't have no emotions. I wasn't crying. Like, I was smiling. We was just, it was a good time. I really didn't feel no sadness. And I have so much peace, even after it's been all said and done. Even with finding out that I don't get as much money back now as I would have got if I would have surrendered it months ago. I just said to myself, all right, Lord, that's okay. I'm like, well, if that's what I get now, because it was on me. I should have surrendered it when he gave me the way of escape the first time. I'm not mad at nobody. I just still had peace. I'm like, well, Lord, this is what we're going to have to use to, get the next one. I mean, you're going to have to just bless it and stretch it, in Jesus' name. And so I just was so at peace and so happy, even though, yes, I'm like, okay, Lord, what I'm gonna do now? I have children, we have errands to run, I be needing to go to the grocery store. I'm so used to being mobile that it is an inconvenience, but it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. But what I had to really sit down with myself and figure out is, why didn't I trust God enough? Why was I so afraid? And then I even had to look like, was this truck an idol? Because what if I had the money to pay for it and God still said surrender and take it back? I'm going to be honest with y'all. Like, for months, probably since the summertime, the idea was in my mind of surrendering my car. I vacillated and mulled over and analyzed and processed and thought about and, tried not to think about giving up my car. And every time I would come to the end of myself, I just will always determine in my mind that, nope, I'm not returning it. God is going to provide. And sometimes I think we just almost are like we are tempting God, or thinking we can manipulate or force him to do what it is we want him to do, even if it's outside of his will, because we assume everything we want from God is in his will. And that's not true. That's why Jesus said, anything that you pray in my name, in his will, in God's will, he will do it. If it's in his will. It's not in God's will for us to be oppressed. It's not in God's will for us to be tormented. It's not in God's will for us to be in anxiety. It's not in God's will for us to have, nightmares and, be living in fear and paranoid. That is not his will. The kingdom brings peace, righteousness, and joy. Trust me when I say, if it's God's will, it's his bill. He provides. because the word says that he supplies all of our needs according to his glorious riches in Christ. So anything that is his will for your life, he's going to provide it. He is. And if he's not providing it, you need to go back to him and say, Lord, what's going on? Is this not your will? Am I doing something wrong? Am I not doing something? Like, what is going on? What is preventing you from doing this, right? And be willing to accept what he say. And so the last thing I want to say about this is sometimes our breakthrough is held up, right? Because when God asks us for something, or when God, give us command, he gives us an instruction. He says, okay, do this. Of course, it's going to be difficult. Of course, it's going to require you to use like all the faith. You got to totally trust God. Of course, it's going to sometimes hurt your feelings. Of course, it's going to be something that really, really, pulls on your heartstrings, because what else is a sacrifice? Right? What else? Like, if it's something that's not near and dear to you, why would he ask for it? And so when God asks us to do something, or he asks us to give up something, or he asks us to surrender something, be quick to do it. And if you can't, tell him. Like, I was honest with him this morning. I said, Lord, I'll give up my car, but I am going to be sad and I'm going to feel away. And I'm like, and it may take me a little time to, to recover and to get back to a place where I can really just praise and, worship and, pray and all the things. Because right now I'm going to be sad. And the funny thing is, I'm not. I'm cool. I'm content. I'm happy. I'm like thrilled, because I'm like, whoa, like all of the stress, all of like a dark cloud just over me every day, like stressing me out, and anxiety. It's not worth it for anything, especially a material possession. I can always get another car. I can get a better car. I can always get another mind. Come on, somebody. Understand the God we serve. He cares about our soul. He cares about your mind, your will, your emotions, your intellect. But he also cares about your freedom. And maybe everybody's not called to live debt free. Everybody's not. It's not to say debt is a sin, debt is a monster. No, some people are blessed and God allows them to utilize debt, and he gives them the provision to be able to pay it off. Excuse me. So it's not to say that it's anything wrong with that, but if that's not the conviction you have, if you know God is leading you in another direction and he's calling you to be debt free, and he's wanting you to be the first, because you can't go and get nobody out of what you ain't got out of. Let me say that again. You can't go get somebody else out of what you ain't got out of, because it is the authority that you have when you've already overcome that thing. Right? It is the knowledge. It is the experience. Like, you can read all the books you want, but it's something else. Like, if you read about God, you can have a level of faith. You can have a level of belief. But when you experience God for yourself, that gives you another level of confidence. So when God is needing you to be the example, and for you to be the blueprint, so that you can have the confidence that you can go deliver them, then that's your conviction. That is what you got to focus on, and you keep that at the forefront. Even if everybody else get to do it that way, even if they get to go that direction, even if they get to do that thing. But if God is telling you no, then you stick with what God is showing you, because all of our journeys are different. All of our journey. I know many people who got car notes, and it doesn't even like it. They don't blink an eye. They can pay their car note. They can pay their car insurance. I know people that got mortgages, and it's not nothing. I know people that got 2 mortgages because they got multiple properties, or 3 mortgages, whatever. And they can, and God has blessed them to sustain that. But baby, if that's not what God is calling you to, don't think you got to be like everybody else. Don't think the only way God can do it for you because everybody else, auntie and uncle and cousin and grandmama got a house, but they had to get a mortgage, that God got to give you a mortgage, baby. If God say he going to give you a house and you going to get that house cash, or he going to have somebody bless you with a house, that's what he going to do. If God say he going to get you going to be able to purchase a car cash, and you going to, you're going to be debt free, that's what he going to do. If he tell you going to get your student loan supernaturally canceled, but you might have to start making a payment here or there, you might have to do something in faith, I don't know. That's what he's going to do. Everybody, there's no cookie cutter system with God. He don't bless everybody the same way. He don't move in everybody's life the same way. And we have to be okay with that. And see, I kept looking at other people's testimonies of, oh, okay, their car got repoed, but then the Lord blessed them the next day with the money, and they were able to go back and get it. Or they prayed to God for the money to sustain their car and their car note, and boom, he gave it to them right then and there. That could be the case, because maybe that's what he's doing for them according to their journey. But when it came to me, I took that and tried to apply that to my life because that's what I wanted. Not to say that's what his desire was. And so I just pray that this bless somebody, and that if you're going back and forth and you're vacillating and you're contemplating, and you're trying to God has spoken to you, and he's like, I need you to surrender this. I need you to get this up. I need you to let this go. I need you to walk away from this. Do it. Because if we don't release what's in our hand, we cannot receive what's in his hand. If we don't release what's in our hand, we cannot receive what is in his hand. Okay. And so, you guys, yeah, I'm so excited. I did finally graduate after I'm gonna have to get on here and give the actual testimony because this video is already long. However, I am a certified financial coach, and I'm so excited. I will be launching my practice here soon. So I'm so excited for what God is doing and what God is going to do for you. And just understand that God is not going to ask us to give up something that he can't and he won't replace. Or sometimes it's just the thing ain't for us. Like if it's a person, that person ain't for you, they ain't for you. But trust and believe he'll fill that void. He'll bring you another relationship or another friendship, right? But anything God is asking us and we give it up, trust and believe, he will bless us with better. He will give us better. And some of our breakthrough, we haven't gotten it yet simply because we have not released what's in our hand. And I'm not saying that applies for everybody. You will know if it's you. But many of us have been wondering, Lord, you've spoken, you've confirmed, you've said, I had a dream, I had a vision, all of the things, I had a prophetic word, just everything speaking loudly back to back to back, but I ain't seen it yet. Why? Go back and ask God why. Lord, what is preventing my breakthrough? What is preventing my answer prayer? What is preventing you from fulfilling your word? What is stopping it? What am I doing? What am I not doing? What's happening? And he'll answer you. Amen. And so, guys, be blessed. I'll see you guys next time on my next video. Bye.